It's Super Bowl week, it's Black History Month, and Arizona is talking about mail-in voting. What do those three things have to do with each other? Watch the rest of this YouTube video and you'll get the answers. First of all, in 1983, President Reagan created a federal holiday for Martin Luther King. And most states followed suit and enacted a state holiday for Martin Luther King. It was done by decree by the governor or decree by the legislature. Here in Arizona, that was done by our governor, Bruce Babbitt, in 1986, prior to him leaving office. The replacement for Bruce Babbitt was a governor by the name of Evan Mecham. Y'all may have heard of him. He was quickly impeached soon after he began his term. However, one of his first acts in 1987 was repealing the Martin Luther King Day here in Arizona. So at that point, we were one of just a handful of states that did not have a Martin Luther King Day. The rest of states quickly soon after did enact a Martin Luther King Day, and here in Arizona, we had to put it on the ballot. And that ballot initiative made it to the public in 1990. Now, there was not just one simple initiative that said, do the voters approve or disapprove of a Martin Luther King holiday? Rather, there were two initiatives put on the ballot. One was yes or no. The second was creating a Martin Luther King Day statewide and eliminating Columbus Day. The idea of both these initiatives caused great confusion amongst many voters. Which do I vote for? Do I vote for both? What happens if both pass? What happens if one passes, one fails? There was a lot of confusion. And then, to add to that confusion, the National Football League, we had just gotten the Cardinals in 1988. The National Football League says, hey, Arizona, we're going to give you the Super Bowl in 1993 to welcome you to our fraternity of cities, to make Arizona part of our Super Bowl rotation. But one small little caveat, you need to have this holiday. Now, we weren't sure if that was a true threat or not. When it first came out and there were rumors around the city and the town, do we have to pass this holiday to get the Super Bowl or don't we? Then the weekend before the election, Bryant Gumbel broke a report that said, if Arizona does not pass this initiative, if Arizona does not vote for Martin Luther King Day, there will be no Super Bowl in Arizona. Now, Arizonans, as we all know, are one thing for sure about anything else, above anything else. They're stubborn people. And if you try and tell an Arizonan, you have to do this or else, most Arizonans say, try me. And that's what happened in Arizona. The ballot initiatives, both of them failed. One, the one removing Columbus Day and replacing it with Martin Luther King Day, failed 75% to 25%. The other one that just simply said, let's add a Martin Luther King Day to state holidays, failed 50.82% to 49.18%. Very close. And this is where it gets into mail-in voting. Because I said, we wrap all these things up into a nice, tight little bundle. In 1990, we didn't have unlimited mail-in voting. If we did, there's a great chance this would have passed in 1980. We would have kept the first Super Bowl in 1993, and our span of history would have been much different. But since everybody had to go to the polling place on Tuesday, this last-minute news changed the outcome of the election. Now, in 1991, Arizona legislature voted to open up mail-in balloting to anybody for any reason. And since then, we have been very successful in one of the best states in mail-in voting. That's up for debate right now, and that's something we need to protect, that right, that responsibility. In between 1990 and 1992, a couple of things happened. Super Bowl was moved from Tempe, Arizona's Sun Devil Stadium to Pasadena and the Rose Bowl. And now during that time period, leaders like Reverend Dr. Warren Stewart, they took charge within our community. They explained the power behind Martin Luther King Jr., that this is not a holiday for Black people. This is an American holiday. This is a state holiday. This is a federal holiday. How his beliefs, how the work Dr. King did represented all Americans, represented all Arizonans. And to have a day to honor him was a day we should have, a day we should honor. And it got back onto the ballot in 1992. And in 1992, it was simply, do we want to add a Martin Luther King holiday, yes or no? That passed with a resounding yes. That ballot was 61% yes to 38% no. Arizona had spoken, and to this day, Arizona is the only state in the union that has voted to have a Martin Luther King Day. So if we want to look at this in a manner of a glass half full kind of thing, we can say we are the only state in the union that as a populace voted to honor the Dr. Martin Luther King. So we got the Super Bowl in 1996, Super Bowl 30, and we've had two since then. We're just getting ready for our fourth Super Bowl. And we are working towards equality. We are working towards treating people right. And we saw back in 1990, 33 years ago, how important peaceful protests are, how important it is to share what's important. There was no violence, there was no gunfire, there were no deaths. But the NFL took a stand. They said, we need a state that supports our beliefs. And when Arizona couldn't do that, we lost the Super Bowl. When we showed we could, we got that right back. In today's world, we need to consider, how do we make our voice heard without violence, without hatred, without all the extras? Share your points of view. Change can be good. Arizona learned, Arizona benefited, and this week we will all enjoy the benefits Super Bowl 57 brings to Glendale, Arizona, the state of Arizona, and to all of us in the neighborhood.